One of the things that can impact relationships is the use of pornography. So in today's video, I want to break down how to break the cycle of porn usage and how to approach the subject and repair the damage that it has done to the relationship. This can be a bit of a taboo subject, and not a lot of people speak about it and can sometimes treat it as a joke. But overuse and addiction to pornography can really ruin a relationship. And some people disagree with pornography entirely. There's this myth that any pornography use is betrayal to the relationship or is damaging, but that's not the case. With that being said, overuse or even addiction to pornography can cause a lot of damage. When pornography usage is also being lied about, or is at the risk of escalation to other sexual gratification outside of the marriage or the relationship. But for those of you who are heavy pornography users and want to break that habit, then I'm going to break down the steps in order to do that. So in order to stop pornography, there's going to be 7 steps. The very first step is to make a clean, visible commitment. It's important to acknowledge this with a commitment to stop. So what some people who I've spoken to about this have done is to create a pledge for yourself and sign it. Starting today, I'm going to stop all solo porn viewing. I'm going to follow a plan, and I'm going to report daily to whether it's to your partner, whether it's to an accountability partner, but have this commitment, write it out, sign it, and then put it as your wallpaper on your phone or as the lock screen on your phone so that you can see it. The commitment that you're making, this is going to help to build that environment to remind you of what you are looking to do. The next step is to remove easy access within 24 hours. Removing any saved passwords and autofill from your browsers, deleting any apps or browser shortcuts that usually lead you to porn, the porn site, pathways to you heading to pornography. So this could even be Facebook as something that would normally escalate you to pornography. Consider moving your devices out of your bedroom at nighttime and put them in a common area to charge. So this is to, again, increase the resistance between you and the normal habit. You can even set controls for your router or your phone, changing the DNS filters, putting a filter or a blocker on your computer or your phone, your apps. And then the next step is to set up an accountability team. This is where you pick one person that you trust and you respect and tell them that you need a daily check-in for the first 30 days. And this daily check-in for you can be just one line, day 5, porn-free. My urge was 3 out of 10. And instead of using pornography, I did a 30-minute workout. There are also a wide selection of accountability apps you can search for. And if you want to build that trust with your partner, this is something that you and your partner can share in terms of accountability. But this is something to agree between you and your partner on the scope of privacy. This affects both of you, and it's between you and your partner on the amount of sharing of this journey that you do. Reason for having this accountability is that this increases your follow-through. Having another human being, it can be a friend or a colleague that you trust, or even a coach, having that human be there for you to help hold you accountable allows you to change the feeling of shame and being alone in this into actual action. And it helps you to increase that follow-through on your commitment. Next, if you feel the need to, book professional help. There are many ways of getting help. There is therapy, there is coaching, there is counseling. If it's a real full-blown addiction, there is specific addiction therapy as well. And if you feel that it's severe enough to get help for this pornography and the root cause and the impact on the relationship, then it's important to look for professional help. There are many different routes to help with this. So being able to talk about this with your partner, being able to repair the relationship with the partner is going to be really, really important as well. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be hand in hand. I work with members who also do therapy at the same time. Building the support network it doesn't have to be just one person that you trust. There can be many. It's building a healthy, positive environment around you that is going to help to keep you on track whilst you're building that commitment to yourself. Next, it's important to make a daily relapse prevention checklist. For example, this could be logging your sleep, your mood, and rating your urge to use pornography from 0 to 10. And be honest about this. Being able to track this is going to help you build that self-awareness as to when you have your highest urge to use pornography versus what else is happening in your life. This is going to help you to build that self-awareness, to be able to cultivate a much more supportive environment for you to be able to follow through on this commitment. This relapse prevention checklist is there to help you replace the unwanted behavior with positive behaviors. So this should, 1, log your urge to use pornography, 2, log your sleep and your mood in general, and 3, have a replacement behavior to replace the pornography usage. So for example, it could be mindfulness, it could be exercise, it could be journaling, 30 minutes of exercise or activity that raises your heart rate, no devices before bed, 10-minute journaling exercise about your triggers that day, and then texting your accountability partner before bed. But having a regular structure for yourself allows you to, and the strength of your cravings, to use pornography. And then the next step is to learn and use urge techniques. Now, there are many different techniques to log and to manage your urges, but it's important to learn them. So, for example, there is something called urge surfing, sitting with the urge, naming it, and experiencing watching it rise and fall for 10 minutes, but without any action. This urge surfing is an example of this technique. This reduces the compulsion to use pornography. Or there's implementation intention. So this is making an if and then rule. If I feel a porn urge, then I will, 1, get up and walk outside for 5 minutes, 2, call my accountability partner and say, urge 7, I will do 15 push-ups. And this plan is to be rehearsed, kind of like a drill. The reason for learning these urge techniques is because rehearsing alternatives gives your brain a simple reflex other than just simply opening up pornography. And then 7 is to keep a tight triggers log for 30 days. So every time you feel an urge, note the time, what you were doing, the emotion, the intensity, and what you did instead. After a week, you're going to see a pattern and you can start to remove these triggers. It's really important to be scientific about this. The more data that you have, this can reveal small clues that increase the risk of relapsing. The more that you build the self-awareness as to what triggers you'll want to use pornography, the more you'll be able to learn how to ride that urge. And by following these 7 steps for 30 days, and by using these techniques, keeping this log and building yourself this structure, this environment to be able to resist the urge, increases your chance of success. You know, so often people, when they're trying to replace a behavior, kind of do it in a bit of a slapdash way. Either they don't have any structure or they don't have positive replacement behaviors, and things can go awry very quickly. So it's really important to build your consistency and start executing this plan today in order to get into a good rhythm moving forward. So now that we have these 7 steps to follow, the next stage is, how do we save the relationship? Now, this video is already going to be quite long in general, so there's only so much that I can go into. But I have worked with thousands of members who have had ineffective habits and ineffective tools, whether it's emotional or communication, that have had a massive impact on the relationship. Overuse of pornography can have an impact, but it's not just the pornography, it's the emotional impact and being able to navigate conversations and strategies around the impact that this has had on the relationship. If you are serious about starting this journey and moving forward and building the relationship skills, navigate the difficult waters around this, then feel free to join my relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same fundamental steps that all my members start with to start rebuilding and repairing their relationship from the ground up. Leave a link in the description down below to get started. So what are these 5 steps to repair the relationship? The first step is to take full responsibility. This is being open and honest about taking responsibility for what you've done when talking about it with your partner. This needs to be clear, concise, and not with excuses or trying to pass on the blame. This is about taking accountability, not only for your actions, but also acknowledging the impact of your actions on your partner's feelings. So for example, I wanted to have a conversation with you about something, and I'm not saying this to be hurtful, but I've been using pornography in secret and I've not been honest with you about it. Putting myself in your shoes, I can understand how hurt and betrayed and devastated you might feel right now. I just want to let you know, I take full responsibility. There's nothing that you did to cause this, and I am committed to doing the work to stop and to rebuild your trust. And I've already started my accountability plan, and I want to keep you in the loop about it. But I imagine that you probably have a lot of things that you want to say to me right now, so I want to hear anything that you have to say. Keep this short. Make sure you're being clear with your actions, not excuses, and allow your partner to share their thoughts. This now becomes a matter of building an environment of emotional safety for your partner to be able to share their thoughts, their feelings on this situation. I speak a lot about emotional safety on this channel. I've done a deeper dive video, but it's really important to learn how to build emotional safety around this situation. This is learning how to validate, learning de-escalation techniques, but also building the emotional intelligence to be able to understand what your partner may be feeling right now, as well as getting to the root of understanding your triggers and your feelings in this situation as well. Next, it's important to agree on immediate safety rules together. So your partner's distrust is going to increase in the short term. So taking the time to have the conversations about rules that are going to allow your partner to feel safer in the meantime. So for example, no private devices in the bedroom, whether there's some form of monitoring that you both sign off on. This is a decision for both of you, and maybe even a schedule for daily check-ins for the next 30 to 60 days. Come up with an agreement that works between you both. You are part of a relationship, and this impacts the relationship. So being able to come up with systems that allow your partner to rebuild that trust over a long period of time, and both of you agreeing to it at the same time. Next, it's important to make sure you're rebuilding trust with repeatable small actions. There is not one single thing that you can do to rebuild trust right now. You're rebuilding trust in small, repeatable, consistent actions that prove your reliability. So when trust is dropped, it's important to build consistency. And there are many, many different things that you can do. This is following through on the things that you're promising, building a consistency and rebuilding your reputation and that trust. Talk is cheap, as they say, but it's important to rebuild trust in drops, not buckets. The next step is really important, which is allowing your partner to set the pacing and their safety needs. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to breaking someone's trust is trying to push their partner to move past it. Once you've taken responsibility and you've acknowledged the impact, a lot of people don't like sitting in the discomfort of their partner's feelings. When they raise the subject, people often invalidate feelings and try to push past with some sort of fix or some sort of remedy, or move into excuses or getting defensive. What this does is this pushes your partner to try to move on before they're ready to. It stops them from being able to process their feelings, and actually causes feelings to become more and more pushed down, but that can only hold for so long before they explode out. So it's really important to allow your partner this space, building this emotional safety to start to rebuild trust. And this involves allowing them to set the pacing and their needs during this repair process time. And then long term, it's important to start moving from surveillance to trust. So starting with slightly higher transparency and some monitoring, but planning on milestones to reduce that surveillance as reliability appears. As you start to rebuild this trust, start talking about milestones to be able to reduce that surveillance, that monitoring, that agreement that you made, because the long-term goal is mutual trust without invasive monitoring. Creating a timetable where the surveillance, the check-ins can start to be reduced. So for example, full transparency for 90 days, and then having a review at the end of that 90 days and a discussion about it, with the long-term goal of rebuilding that trust and that consistency over time. Now, during this time, things can get heated. If your partner has felt betrayed, then they're going to have times where they're going to want to express themselves. And it's really, really important to learn how to be able to manage your partner's feelings without destroying this emotional safety, like we've spoken about. I've done a deeper dive on this, which I'll link to on the screen, but being able to de-escalate a situation without destroying emotional safety over this period of repair and rebuilding trust, so that you can show trust in your actions, not just in your words. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video on de-escalation, and I'll see you over there.